You know, there's a hidden danger that could be sitting in your kitchen pantry at this very moment, and it's probably disguised as one of your go-to snacks. We're about to dive into the shocking amount of salt in our everyday foods, and honestly, what's been found is pretty unsettling.
Come on, we all do it, right? You reach for that bag of chips for a quick, satisfying crunch. But have you ever really truly stopped to think about what's in there? Well, as you're about to see, it's often a whole lot more than you signed up for. And here it is. This is the bombshell that kicked this whole thing off. A recent lab test on a really popular snack brand found it had nearly 3 times the permissible legal limit for salt. Just let that sink in for a second. 3 times. That's not a tiny oversight, that is a massive red flag. So, how in the world does this happen? Let's peel back the shiny packaging and get right into the salty secret of the packaged food industry. Now, to be fair, salt itself isn't some evil villain. For food companies, it's actually an essential tool. I mean, it makes snacks taste amazing, so good you can't just have one, right? And it also acts as a natural preservative, which means those snacks can sit on the shelf for way longer. It's cheap and it works. So when does this useful ingredient become a major problem? Well, this quote from our source material just nails it. The misuse of salt is a ticking health time bomb. The problem isn't the existence of salt, it's the way it's being used. We've gone way past just adding a little flavor and have strayed into some seriously dangerous territory for public health. And that ticking time bomb, well, it leads to some very real and very serious health consequences. Let's break down exactly what all that extra salt is doing to our bodies. And we're not talking about minor annoyances here. These are 3 huge health risks. First up, high blood pressure, which, as you know, is a major driver of heart disease and strokes. Second, kidney damage, because your kidneys have to work in overdrive to filter out all that sodium. And here's one a lot of people don't know about. Too much salt can actually pull calcium out of your system, which can lead to weaker bones over time. Now, if those risks sound bad for adults, they are even more frightening when we start talking about our kids. So let's focus on the specific dangers high salt poses to children. The 2 most important words on this slide are long-term. A child's body is still growing and developing, and that makes them so much more vulnerable to damage. A diet packed with salt during childhood isn't just a short-term issue. It's literally setting the stage for a whole lifetime of health problems. And it's not just physical, it's behavioral too. When kids are constantly eating these super salty foods, their taste buds actually adapt. They start to expect and crave that intense level of saltiness, and that creates a really dangerous cycle that can lead to unhealthy habits and, down the road, chronic diseases like hypertension when they become adults. So, you have to ask, why are companies doing this, especially when the risks are so well known? Well, the answer, as it so often does, seems to come down to putting profits before people's health. Let's just look at the 2 sides of the coin here. For a company, salt is like a magic wand. It amps up the flavor, makes the product last longer, and, get this, it can even mask the taste of lower quality ingredients. Basically, it just overwhelms your senses so you don't notice. And most important for them, it's designed to make you want more. But the direct consequence of all those business benefits is pretty simple. Our health is put on the line. This really isn't just about tweaking a recipe for a tastier snack. This quote gets right to the heart of the ethics here. When a company knowingly goes over the legal salt limits, like in that lab test, that's a deliberate choice. Our source puts it bluntly, they are playing with the lives of consumers, all for the bottom line. It's a heavy subject, for sure, but the story doesn't have to end here. Understanding the problem is step 1. Step 2 is figuring out how we can actually respond to it. A huge part of the solution really has to come from the top down. Our source is calling for strict legal action against companies that break these rules. Not just a little fine. We're talking about tighter regulations on how much salt is allowed. And, this is the critical part, making sure those safety standards are actually being enforced. But we're not helpless here. There are 3 things all of us can start doing today. First, read the label. I know it sounds basic, but just taking a second to check the sodium content is a game changer. Second, choose alternatives. Look for low-sodium versions. Or hey, even better, grab an apple or some carrots. And third, demand action. Let's use our collective voice to support calls for more transparency and tougher rules. At the end of the day, that lab test showing a snack with 3 times the legal salt limit, that's not just an isolated incident. It is a massive wake-up call.
It's for us as consumers, it's for the regulators, and it's for the entire food industry. It's a screaming sign that we all need to be paying a lot more attention.
And all of this leaves us with one final big question to chew on. We grab these snacks because they're easy, they're quick, they're convenient, but as we've just seen, there's a pretty serious hidden cost. So we have to ask ourselves, is that convenience really worth the long-term price we pay with our health and with the health of our kids? It's something to think about the next time you're walking down that snack aisle.